Wraggies Beers, Wines and Spirits video. So, I was at work the other day and I'd thought about doing like a beer version of the Oscars, all in fun but serious at the same time. So, yeah, called the Wraggies, just for a strange name, obviously. And again, this is my opinion, but I, as a beer fan and beer reviewer, I take very seriously how the supermarkets and the growth of the beer industry is going, and it's devastating with COVID, obviously. So, first um, award, or at least in my respect, anyway. Um, Best supermarket of the year from a beer point of view. I'm not talking wines or spirits, talking beers only. So let's look at all the supermarkets. We'll look at Marks and Spencer's for first. Their range, what have they done to their beer range? Yes, they've got a few bits in for Christmas, but 2 years ago their beer range was exceptional. They had a massive amount of craft beer in, albeit a lot of it made exclusively for them, but it was a good beer range. Sadly, went in a matter of a few weeks ago, and it was like, what have you done? The beer range has shrank, and this was in one of the bigger stores as well. I'm not talking the little stores. And yeah, sadly disappointed, very disappointed in their beer range. So they're definitely a no-goer. Aldi. uh, Funniest supermarket I've ever known. I've never known anybody rip off so many brands, get away with it. And I mean, even they've done it on lagers for years, ripping off lagers. Now they've gone into the beer sector. I mean, the plum porter that they released was absolutely shocking. And don't get me even started on another beer of theirs, but we'll come to that. So they are definitely a no-go. Lidl, again, small section, but at least they're not ripping people's brands off. So yeah, again, Lidl are out the running. Co-op, again, they've reduced their section down, and it's like, stop bloody reducing your beer sections. And yeah, sadly they're out of the way. So we'll come to the big four, and then also Waitrose. So for me, Asda is certainly the weakest of the remaining supermarkets. Although they have done a little bit of work on their range this year, their range still is quite stagnant and quite small compared. I don't know what this is these days with this reducing of the beer range. In supermarkets where they're making the shelves lower, putting stock on top of the shelves, and reducing the actual amount of stuff they've got, you've got a thing with the beer section to make it wider. And the one good thing about Asda, I do say, is that they do have got a couple of local beers in there. A couple, not much, but a couple. So again, Asda, your range needs sorting out. You need a bigger range and a new think about things. Craft beer in the fridge. This is going to be a recurring theme. So yeah, you're not even in the top three. Next. Ooh, tough one. But Sainsbury's is number 4. Again, Sainsbury's has updated its range this year. This collaboration with Beerhawk does seem to be interesting. However, it's still only small. And for me, having shelves full of Hobgoblin or Spitfire is just lazy. It's lazy supermarket. It is. Got the whole shelf of Hobgoblin. Why not just make it 4 or 8? Not a whole shelf. It's lazy. Yes, it's selling well. Yes, you've come to some deal with Morrisons, but the range of beers since I left in 2015 has dropped. Whew. Credit to the beer hawk thing. There's a bit of an overflow of Brewdog. I mean, not everybody likes Brewdog. Brewdog not got the greatest reputation, especially with how they treat their own staff. So um, yes, there's some good beers from Brewdog, but there's also some bog standard ones. I'd rather the whole section was consolidated, and what I did like was the welcome of local beers. Did say this when I worked at Sainsbury's that you need more local beers. Yeah, you need to talk. All supermarkets need to be looking into the local areas where they are bringing in local beers, even if you're selling them, and don't force the prices down. Come to a deal. There's always deals to be made, but make sure that they are making their bit of profit as well, because they've got to survive, not just supermarkets. Bring locals in. Even if it's, I don't know, you could spare a one plinth in a supermarket for local beers. You'd be surprised at how they would sell. Trust me. Any supermarkets out there, want any advice, go to either the likes of me or any of the beer reviewers across the UK, especially the ones that aren't in it for money. Um, they'll tell you. Nottinghamshire supermarkets, please come to me. I'll get you. I'll work with you to get the best of the local breweries, and even local, and just make it a rotating thing. And I'll tell you now that it would be good not only for local breweries but also for the kudos of the supermarkets. Trust me, we need to support our locals. So yeah, Sainsbury's is number 4. Number 3. And although it's a supermarket which closed down in Nottingham, their range of not only craft, one-offs, German beers is to be applauded. And I'm talking Waitrose. Yeah. Um, the range of beers, the pricing's not too bad. And yeah, I think, and again, they need to, like other supermarkets, stop reducing the area for booze. No need for it. Packed in. But yeah, Waitrose definitely in that top, definitely number 3 on the list. So that brings us down to number 2. And number 2, and again, a little bit of a bollocking for this supermarket, Tesco's at number 2. Again, like the other supermarkets, my local to me is Top Valley, Tesco's in Nottingham. You have reduced the area for booze. Put the pot back on its own and leave the booze aisles to themselves. I don't understand this thing about reducing the area for booze. If you And again, similar to some ways to Sainsbury's, where you've made certain brands mega wide, pack that in, and make make an area for traditional beers, an area for craft beers, and even a fridge. Chuck a fridge on the aisle for craft beers, especially for those craft beers from mega breweries. I have been impressed with Tesco's updating of their range. It has been good this year. There's been some good updates. The some of the big beers that have come to supermarkets, Death Star, the Omnipolos, controversially probably Cloudwater as well. Controversially, I didn't really rate the Brewdog Cloudwater beers. I do think there's room for those beers to come in, more locals as well. But yeah, Tesco's certainly number two. Yeah, the range is good, and like I say, do need to stop reducing the area for the beers. I would, especially at Tesco's Top Value, I would kick them bottles of pop back onto the pop aisle. And every time I go into Tesco's, there's somebody stood around watching the booze area. We used to work the booze area, so that stops a lot of the thieving going off. You've got somebody there watching people on the booze. We know who you're watching. I've worked on BWS, so I know who you're watching. But put somebody on the aisle. What? Somebody on the aisle working. Get staff working again. Yeah, don't have them all on the tools. Get somebody working the booze aisle, rotating the products. When will they learn? Supermarkets. When will you learn? They're all as bad as each other's. To be fair, you hardly see anybody working booze aisles anymore, and then you wonder why you get shrinkage. It's not too hard to put two and two together, is it? So, and also more locals, please, Tesco. A plinth with local beers on all around the country. Local beers, rotating local beers. You know, um, speaking to the local breweries and saying, look, we want your beers on our shelves. We want to support you, and we want you to new beers, Tesco beers done, in some ways exclusively for Tesco's, but local. One plinth out of a supermarket on the booze aisle, chuck the pot back round where it belongs. One plinth would help the general public to see what's out there, what local breweries are out there. Trust me, it's the common, decent thing to do, especially in the middle of a pandemic. But around Nottingham itself, there's a good 30 odd breweries that are doing, brilliant beers in cans and bottles, a fantastic range, Nottingham themed beers as well, beers that encapsulate the whole year: winter beers, summer beers, spring beers, beers for Wimbledon, beers that there's even a beer that tastes like Baileys, which is absolutely wacky, and there's a beer that's got a certain beer reviewer's face on that's all about Nottingham. So then we jump onto the beer supermarket of the year. This is a supermarket that I'm going to point out a few things that have annoyed me first. At one stage, Morrisons beer supermarket of the year had beers, Christmas beers, Valentine's beers, Halloween beers. They stopped doing that about 2.5 years ago. They've had a few more Christmas beers in this year. I'll grant that. Been better, but it wasn't as good as it used to be. Now, and again, another little, you've reduced the amount of traditional beers you have. Got to keep supporting those traditional beers. You do have some local beers. There's Castle Rock, but more local beers. Keep Castle Rock, more local beers. Again, a plinth for local beers would be amazing. But let's talk about the great things. The evolution of craft beers, the changing of the amount of beers you have, the ever updating of them beers. It's great. It's great to see. And I did read somewhere that Morrisons now have got putting fridges for craft beer in their shops. That's really interesting. For certain craft beer aficionados, they'd like to know that the craft beers were chilled all the way up to the supermarket. But yeah, that's something that the only way to do that is actually put it in a fridge vehicle when you're transporting it. Not easy. But yeah, the range of beers, North Star 2, 3, not so much 3. 3 was good, but North Star 2, probably 1 was probably the best of the lot, The range of good craft breweries that are in the store, the foreign beers that are in there, the traditional beers. It is a stunning supermarket. Obviously, the deals help as well. Beers from all over the UK, the ever-changing range of beers. Just don't keep reducing your beer section. Make the beer section wider, you know. And a full plinth dedicated to locals would be amazing up and down the country. Could you imagine what you would be doing that helping local beer makers and cider makers for that matter? So yeah, Morrisons is my supermarket of the year, beer supermarket of the year. So it's won the first official Wraggies beer supermarket of the year. Hey! Do you agree? Do you not agree? Can you pick out points that you'd like to see yourself? Please comment and let's make this a thread for all supermarkets to, you know, in a way that putting your point across. You know, this is also a chance for everybody who watches beer reviews and that to put their point across about their local supermarkets and supermarkets in general. Do you have a supermarket that's got a great beer range? Let me know. Cheers, everyone. See you later.